Hey everyone, this is Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. I want to take a little bit of time to talk to you on why the Green New Deal is the biggest disaster for our country, will completely and radically change our country, destroy our economy, and make it to where America can never recover and get back to who we are. And this is a very important topic. While the media has you distracted with big stories that are shocking, with riots all over the country, Congresswoman Maxine Waters actually going to Minnesota and telling people to get more confrontational just to get what they want. And then as we're seeing stories of shootings where they're basically criminalizing a white police officer for shooting a 15-year-old black girl who had a knife in her hand to stab another black woman. And these are the stories you're seeing on the news because Democrats are pursuing gun control. The real danger in policy that is happening right under your nose is the Green New Deal. Now, let's take a minute to break this down and I'll explain to you why the Green New Deal is horrible. It will basically make America completely reliant and dependent on China, and it will globalize our country and change our economy, raise our taxes, take away your ability to be able to buy goods and services at cheaper prices because everything will go up, inflation will rise, taxes will go up, and it will make America poor. Now, President Trump did a wonderful job. He did a great service for America the past 4 years where he set America first policies. And these policies paved the way for and showed us what we should be doing policy-wise here in Congress on a federal level to make America great again. And these policies are so important. They're America First policies. President Trump saw the danger ahead with the climate justice, climate speak, and the radical, basically just terrifying approach to changing the way our government functions, all in the name of climate justice. And so he did these things because he's a businessman. He was very smart. He pulled us out of the Paris Climate Treaty, which was the right thing to do. He cut regulations, and through these very smart strategic moves, he was able to help America become independent, energy independent for the first time in a very long time. And that's something that we're all proud of. So here's why the Green New Deal is a big danger. Now, remember back in early on, when a new congresswoman named Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez introduced something called the Green New Deal. Everyone laughed and no one took it serious, and no one ever thought we should have to take it serious. But this is a 14-page document that everyone needs to take serious, and I'll tell you why. Because the entire Democrat Party is buying into it. Not only are they buying into it, they have bought into it. And they're making the Green New Deal a very big part of everything they're doing. So this is why this is important for me to talk to you about, and this is why it's important for you to understand, and this is why we have to dedicate everything that we can to making America great again through America First policies. And that's going to take all of us being dedicated and working very hard to make this happen. Let's break down the Green New Deal a little bit. Now, the Green New Deal sets standards to this: net zero carbon emissions, and they have a very aggressive approach. Now, the progressives in the Democrat Party, that's AOC, that's Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, the progressive wing. I don't call them progressives, I call them communist. They are wanting these net zero carbon emissions very soon. They want 100% net zero carbon emissions by 2035. Now, the Biden administration, he came out today and talked about reducing net carbon emissions down by 50% by 2030. That's only 9 years away. He wants America to cut our carbon emissions in half by 2030. And he has an aggressive policy approach that he wants to use to make that happen. And let me explain what that is. It is going to be for the federal government, that's your tax dollars, ladies and gentlemen, for the federal government to invest in solar power and wind power. And then what they want to do is they're going to cut down on the usage of oil, natural gas, and coal. And how they will make that happen is through putting strict regulations on any industry that emits carbon, okay? So that is how they're going to push towards cutting our carbon emissions by half by 2030. Only 9 years. Now here's what you need to understand. Another big part of what Biden is wanting to do is make America dependent on electric vehicles. The abbreviation for that is EV. So whenever you see EV, that means electric vehicles. Those are vehicles that operate on battery engines, battery powered engines, not oil, not gasoline, not diesel fuel like you're used to. We're talking about battery powered cars and trucks. Now, who makes the batteries? China. China makes the batteries. They dominate the battery market that goes into electric vehicles. Here's what you need to understand. What we are looking at is we're looking at our federal government, the President of the United States, the Democrat-controlled Congress, and the very cut in half Democrat Senate. They want to force America to change our industries. This is a government-mandated order to force us into electric vehicles. Now, if we are to be required to only have electric vehicles, that means we are going to be completely reliant on the country that makes all the batteries for the electric vehicles, and that is China. Now, let's examine who China is. China wants to dominate the world. China is aggressive economically. They're also aggressive militarily. Look at what they're doing with Taiwan right now. Here's what we have to fully comprehend about this, and we've got to wake up and recognize this is not a political party issue. It's not about being a Republican or a Democrat. Let's talk about being an American. China has lied to us for decades. They have stolen our technology for decades. They have spied on us for decades. For example, they work very hard to get in and get influence with people like me in Congress. Think about Representative Eric Swalwell from California, who ended up having a relationship with a Chinese spy, and he did not know she was a Chinese spy and then found out later. So it's very, very important for every single American, and we need to stop being divided. We need to wake up and realize who China is. China is an enemy. They're a threat to the United States. They're a threat to our economy, and they're a danger for all of us. Remember, COVID-19 came from China. What did it do to our country for the past year? Now, another thing you need to understand is China has completely infiltrated the United States. They fund our colleges and universities by an unknown amount of money. I do not know how much money it is, but it is a huge sum. Many colleges and universities are completely reliant on the money that they get funded from China. They are also infiltrating all of our school systems from K through 12 all the way into the PTA. Chinese businesses are visited by the communist Chinese government in our country. They visit these Chinese-owned businesses because the state party is in control. Now, you have to understand that in China, there's approximately 120 million or a little more communists in China. There's 120 million communists in China. There's roughly another 100 million in China that want to join the Communist Party. When you add those numbers together, you're looking at roughly 2/3 the population of the United States. That's pretty terrifying to imagine that in China alone, roughly the size, 2/3 the size of America's population are dedicated communists. China is a huge country with well over 1 billion people. So the United States, our government, and every single one of us needs to take China very seriously. And for the Joe Biden administration and the Democrats, Nancy Pelosi, and every single member of Congress that are Democrats, to want to pass policy that will force us to be reliant on China, a country that does not care about us, that has lied, stealed, and spied on us for decades, is in extreme danger for every single American. We do not need to be reliant on a country like China. We need to be independent. We need to be independent in every single way. President Trump showed us how that can be done with America First policies, and I want to tell you, I am dedicated to that fight and making sure that America First policies are the policies that will be the policies that this government uses and that will save our country and save our children's future, and it's imperative that we get on board with this. Here's something else you need to understand. Joe Biden has said that the United States will give $2.5 billion to climate aid, and that goes into the world. That doesn't help Americans. It doesn't protect your southern border. It doesn't do anything for you here at home, but those are your tax dollars that President Joe Biden is giving away to help in climate aid. Another thing that you need to understand is this. Let's talk about what China has to say about carbon emissions. China only pledges. Now they're pledging. They're saying with their words that carbon emissions, they'll reduce them by 2030 and then work towards net zero carbon emissions by 2060. Joe Biden, the president of the United States, is going to pass legislation that says that America has to cut our carbon emissions in half by 2030. That's only 9 years from now. 9 years from now. But China is saying that they are going to continue ramping up their production, ramping it up. That means increasing their net carbon emissions to 2030. And then once they have increased productivity, because he's growing his economy, he is not backing away from oil and coal and natural gas. He is not backing away from creating carbon emissions. He's going to ramp them up with productivity to 2030 or somewhere approximately in that time frame. And then he will work on reducing net carbon emissions by 2060. But yet we have the president of our country selling America out and making us dependent on China and saying that we have to cut ours in half by the next 9 years and we have to be net zero carbon emissions by 2050. That's 10 years before China's pledging they might get there. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Every single American should be outraged that the oldest president in the history of the United States, who will not even live long enough to see the effects that this horrible, dangerous policies and what it will do to ruin this country that his children and grandchildren also live in, but what it will do to this to our children's future. He won't even be here to see it, but this is what he is running towards, and he's allowing the communists, the so-called progressives, tell him what to do. Now, they're not happy with it. They want a more aggressive approach. They want net zero carbon emissions by 2035, not 2050. They want Joe Biden to go harder. They want him to push harder, and they are willing to fully sell America out because these people don't love America in the first place. Let's talk about Russia. Russia has no policy. How about that? They have no policy plans written up, but Putin says that he'll try to lower carbon emissions over the next 3 decades. That was his statement. So Russia is going to continue to work as hard as they can to grow their economy. I'm sure they're going to be very interested in oil and natural gas. They have no intention, no policy plans on the books whatsoever to pass and put in place to chase down this insane rabbit hole that President Joe Biden is sending America on. This is a very dangerous time for our country, and we need to get on board to turn our country back around and make it America First policies only. That's the only way. Now, who wins in this scenario? Let's talk about this. The Green New Deal. Who wins with the Green New Deal? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's not you, it's not me, it's not your kids, it's not your grandkids, it's not the American worker. It's not our small businesses. No, we're the losers. The taxpayers in America are the losers because the Green New Deal costs $93 trillion. That's the estimation. And right now, the infrastructure package that's supposed to be about roads and bridges and waterways and ports and also, I would say broadband, because that's an important thing for this country. That should be the only thing considered in infrastructure, is those critical components. But the infrastructure package that the Biden administration is very aggressively pursuing has the Green New Deal all woven into it, They're also claiming they're going to create jobs, but they're not creating jobs. You have to be a business to create jobs. The government doesn't create jobs. What they do is they start jobs, but they use it at your expense. So in a business, you sell goods and services, and that brings in revenue. And that revenue is used to pay your employees and pay the cost of doing business. But when the government makes jobs, let me tell you what they do. They raise taxes and they take your money away from the taxpayers. That money is used to pay these people that work in the government. And then what else does that do? It creates a bigger, more powerful government with more people dependent on the government for their paycheck. And who does that depend on? Well, it rides on the backs of the taxpayers, because the government doesn't produce goods and it doesn't produce services and it doesn't make a profit. As a matter of fact, we are coming close to $30 trillion in debt, a debt that we can never get out of at this pace, and a debt they're not even trying to get out of. As a matter of fact, they're digging a deeper hole and burying all of us in it, and this is terrifying. Who wins in this scenario? Let's talk about that. The only winners here are the elites. The only winners are the AOCs, the Joe Bidens, the Nancy Pelosi's, the Chuck Schumers, those that are in power and those that are in charge. They win because it makes them more powerful, bigger government, and it changes our country to something we were never meant to be. This country is meant to be for the people, by the people, and we're meant to be a free people. And this government is meant to work for the people, and it's not going to do that anymore if these policies pass and become law. Wall Street wins. How does Wall Street win? Well, they shift their investments. Instead of investing in American companies, they'll be shifting their investments into Chinese companies, like Chinese battery companies, rare earth mineral companies, companies that will benefit, solar companies, wind-powered companies, companies that will benefit on the Green New Deal, not your regular American business folks. It's not about that anymore. Now, who else will benefit? Well, corporations, big corporations that small businesses like mine and yours can't compete with. The large corporations will be the winners. Here's why. They'll be able to ship as many jobs as they want overseas because we'll become a more globalized economy. So they can ship jobs overseas and have them made cheaper with child labor in countries that have no regulations on labor standards. And they'll be able to make their goods for a lot cheaper and then sell them to you for a lot higher because inflation is going to take place. Another problem is with our wide open border, America is importing cheap illegal labor faster than you can possibly imagine. We are over 200,000 people crossing into the United States a month now, and that is including all of these unaccompanied minors. Joe Biden is in the business of human trafficking because that's what's happening at the United States southern border, and we are just watching it happen, and there is no stop, no care, and no attention paid whatsoever. The border czar herself, Vice President Kamala Harris, hasn't even been to the border to take a look and be outraged at all the children stuffed into cages. She doesn't care. Joe Biden refuses to acknowledge it's a problem and is blaming President Trump. Nancy Pelosi thinks it's great. She just wants to welcome the entire world into America. She could care less, and she's in the business of thanking George Floyd for dying so that there could be justice, which is absolutely appalling. A white woman thanking a black man for dying in the streets so that there can be justice, which is defunding the police. This is who these people are. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about regular old Main Street America, small businesses, families, and kids. They don't care about your future. They only care about making those deals that benefit them, benefit their family members like Hunter Biden, and benefit their friends. So this is exactly what we're looking at with the Green New Deal. There's a lot more to it, and I'll be breaking it down more often for you. I'm also happy to tell you that yesterday on the House floor, I happened to finally bump into AOC and I challenged her to a debate about the Green New Deal. You see, I'm a small business owner that has created jobs. I've signed the back of many paychecks. I've also built the economy. As a job creator, a business owner, we actually build the economy. Let me tell you what AOC has never done. She's never created one job. She has not built the economy. She's only in the business of trying to tear it down. And that's exactly what I told her when I spoke with her yesterday on the House floor. We're going to debate. I told her, she asked me if I had read her 14-page Green New Deal. I said, I've read some of it. And she said, well, when you read all of it, then you can challenge me to a debate. Well, the good news is I've read all 14 little pages and I'm very ready to debate her on the House floor. So this is what we're going to be doing. The date hasn't been set, but when it is set, I will let you know. And she better show up. If she chickens out, then she shows exactly who she really is, a scared little girl that is pretty stupid and doesn't know anything about the economy or economics. And she boasts that she does because she has a degree in economics, but she doesn't have enough common sense to actually be able to produce anything in the real world. She just has a government job. So I just wanted to fill you guys in on what's going on. Here's the plan going forward. It's going to be America First policies, and this is what I'm going to be fighting for every single day, and that's for you, and that's for me, and that's for the future of our children and our grandchildren and beyond that. America First policies is the only way to save this country, and I am so thankful that we had President Trump for 4 years to show us exactly what that looks like. Now it's our turn to pick up that mantle and run with it and make sure that America First policies are the future and the way for this country. Thank you guys for your support, and I look forward to talking to you again. Hey, one more thing. Share this video and tell your friends. Okay, have a great day. Bye-bye.